everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Tiffany, and my husband and I are the owners of Creative Designs by Tiffany, a flower shop and event space located in upstate New York. I've intending to feature things and people who have a depth to them. What originally started as a podcast to give you a little bit of knowledge about the floral industry has grown to hold some of the most meaningful conversations in my life. I hope it gets you thinking and blesses you in its own right. Why are you giggling on this one? I actually nailed it this time, but I'm reading it.
But you read it.
I'm still
that
reading
doesn't count.
it. Every time he says I can't read it, I have to be
the
looking
teleprompter
up here.
is coming up here.
Well, yes,
I promise you by the next time.
I know. Well, that's where Ralph, I know, because he looks, he gets right into it, and I'm like, I can't do
He's
that.
got it memorized.
Yes.
He's got it down.
well, who you hear is Dave Warner, producer extraordinaire of everything that goes on here. Yes. Yeah. And then today I have my guest today is Laurie Britton from Bug Country. Immediately when you hear her voice, you don't have to look at anything. Immediately when you hear her voice, you will know what I'm talking about, because anybody who's from this area has heard her over the sound waves, I would say, over the past, how many years has it been?
Oh, my goodness. I guess we'll just say it's been well over 2 decades.
There you go. So, she's like a staple voice.
How well is that?
Yes.
Sounds very baked into me.
Yes. So it's like the staple voice you hear. But I am so happy that she's on the podcast today. I told her, I said, I was wondering if she could come on and we talk about, like, basically our paths crossed because I have the flower shop. And so then with advertising, which is part of, everything that you have to do, she's actually my advertising exec, or however you want to call it too. But she also is a DJ for... DJ, is that what they call him still?
Oh,
DJ?
sure.
Okay, yep. That's what I don't know anymore. I was always a DJ when I was a kid, whatever. But
we're not spinning actual discs anymore. But yeah, there's still a DJ.
Well, it's Bug Country. You could be.
Right. Well, and
should I do that again?
Yeah, that was a good one. Well, that's what I'm wondering is that I'm like, anybody that listens, that's, I joke I have like 5 listeners that's younger. DJ, they probably don't even know what a DJ stands for anymore, right? Because I don't know how it works anymore.
It's an old thing.
Yeah, so a disc jockey.
See, I was back into where you were putting the LPs on.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. What's an LP? See,
okay. I'm gonna say I came into the industry when we were dealing with CDs.
Okay, okay, easy enough. So there we go.
You can definitely tell where the generation gaps are.
Now we're dating ourselves, right? So okay, well, cool. Well, anyway, so I said I would have her on today and talk a little bit about like what you do, and then on top of it, I told her a little backstory of the podcast, which I still can't really tell what my podcast is about half the time. So I just interview
Nobody can, Tiffany. We just listen.
I know. It's fun. So you never know where I'm going to go. So with this one, I said we'll talk about, the advertising aspect of it, but then also what you have something big coming up, you said, too, for the company. What would you call it? Because Bug Country is...
Bug Country
yes.
is actually coming up next year on its 30th anniversary, if you
can
believe
that's
that.
Big.
Amazing.
And what kind of ties this all together is that Bug Country actually began in Little Falls.
That's amazing.
And when I first started, I was an intern straight out of high school.
Awesome.
Technically for the sister station at that time, which was WOW FM, but both WOW FM and Bug Country broadcast right here in Little Falls.
Yep.
Awesome.
And WLFH?
You know about it then?
Yeah.
That was one of the frequencies at the time.
Awesome.
Yep. It's interesting. The frequencies have sort of changed around a little bit.
That was
over
the
time.
AM side of it, WLFH. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. So at one point in time, there was just 101.1 with 2 sister AMs that were Bug Country.
Okay.
And that's when we were in Little Falls. And I really didn't know a lot about it at the time because I was working on the sister station. And when I say working, interning is really just learning your skills as I'm going to college at the same time and getting a base underneath me. And I'll tell you, I could not have asked for a better situation because I didn't know that I wanted to go into radio. That was a truly happy accident, but I ended up here in Little Falls.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that, how you ended up in the industry that you are, because, in speaking and then, doing the advertising versus being on air and stuff too. So how did you end up, take us back, how did you end up doing this then? Interning and...
It all goes back to an ugly sequin silver dress, if you want to know the truth. I saw this dress in a store. This is before I had any notion about radio or anything whatsoever. I saw this dress. You know how sometimes you see a dress and you need it?
Actually,
I didn't need this dress.
Actually, I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't relate to that.
Well, let me explain to you how this works. Sometimes
I need that.
you go into a store, you see something you totally don't need. but you can't get it off your brain.
Yes.
And so that was me with this ugly silver sequin dress. I did not need that dress for anything. I never actually wore that dress, but I had to have that dress. So the very next day, I went back to the store to get it. And I bumped into a cousin who I had not seen in, I'd say, maybe 10 years. And she says, Laurie, oh, it's so great to see you. I'm working at a radio station. Would you like to intern, and would you also like to be a bridesmaid in my wedding?
Can I wear that dress?
Yeah, that was a big no to the dress, not to the wedding. So yes, of course, I said, yes, I will be a bridesmaid, and yes, I will be an intern, even though I have no idea what that means.
That's amazing.
And so
how cool is that?
she said, show up on Monday, and there's a new morning show starting.
Amazing.
Now, there's a part of this that Tiffany doesn't know
Okay. Yes, that's
about me.
And a silver dress? No.
Well, okay,
Just asking.
No, she's seen that before.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Oh, dear.
No, I'm talking about radio. I was a disc jockey because
Okay.
I mentioned LPs, but a friend of mine was the general manager at a station, and he just walked up to me one day and said, we need a guy for Sunday morning. Nobody listens to the radio on Sunday morning, 6 a.m. to noon anyway.
Well, that's not true.
Well, that's what he told me. He said, would you do it? And I said, I just went, WTK, what was the station name? I can't even think of the station name now. Oh, TK102, home of the Gulf Coast, best rock and roll.
Okay.
He said, you're hired. And I said, no, I was just joking. He said, I'm not. Be there Sunday morning at 6.
Amazing.
It was the same kind of thing. I was like, no, I'm just kidding.
That's amazing. So that's how it started then. Just an internship. And then did you fall in love with it, or did you hate it? Did you love it? What were you thinking?
Well, I'll tell you, it took me some time to fall into a place where I really learned what it was all about, because that internship was interesting. The morning show in question had brought their own interns, which I don't know if my cousin knew that was going to be the case or not, but it turned into I was the last intern standing by the time all that was done. And then there was a transition, and I worked with a gentleman who on the air went by Harry Carpenter, and people in Little Falls know him as Harry Enia III.
Oh,
Really? I did not know he was on the radio.
Yep, this is when we were on WOW FM way back in the day.
Wow.
And so he was the one who I was first paired with, and I give Harry so much credit because he really taught me so much about radio.
So cool.
And our mornings, it was the wake up jam for anybody who remembers. Our mornings were so much fun and learned a lot. We were spinning actual CDs in the beginning, so this really does take you back, because most of radio these days is run through a computer.
Right.
But back in those days, it was CDs. When we would do live events on location, we were using bag phones. That's really dating how far back it was.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I didn't realize that. So this is why I love having these conversations, because I would have never realized that that's how you got your start. And then name dropping Harry,
Yeah.
I would have never thought that too. So how cool is that?
I think it's just cool for people to know what it's like to be on radio. They think, in my case, it was like, here, push a button, do this, whatever, and we'll see you later. And they left me, and I'm scared to death. I'm thinking thousands of people are listening to me, even though they said nobody listens on Sunday morning, and you've got to read the news and do all this stuff. And I was like, but there's thousands of people. I was scared to death and alone in the station with all this equipment.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a little bit scary, but also it got me, or I will credit it as being part of what got me over some challenges. You may not know this from how I'm talking to you now, but when I was growing up, I had a speech impediment. I was a terrible stutterer. Wow. And so honestly, I can't say empirically that this is fact, but I just look at the timeline of my life, and I see getting in front of people, getting on stages, getting involved with community theater. These were things that coincided with me getting past whatever hump it was with this speech impediment. And I think that radio really in the beginning was probably a big part of that, because it was nerve-wracking and you really do have to kind of, push yourself to put yourself in situations beyond your comfort zone. But once I did, and the confidence just continued to grow, it became much easier. And now it's just simply, talk to people no matter what, which I think was a lovely segue into the advertising world as well, because now the biggest part of my job is that I visit with businesses like Tiffany's and set them up with some advertising plans. And that involves really the whole gamut of not just figuring out what do you need, what is the best plan to meet those needs, but also figuring out things like, maybe getting you out of your comfort zone. I'll give you a for instance.
This I would like to see, actually. If you can pull that off, I'm game.
It's true, though.
Well, Tiffany, in the very beginning, when I first was talking with her about how are we going to shape this ad. Now, I can record your ad, certainly can, but some personalization seemed like the route to take here. And so I remember you being a little hesitant in the beginning about the idea of saying a line or two in your own ad.
and now that's my
we're
PTSD.
past that.
That's my PTSD from baseball all those years.
No, that's your PTSD from working with me.
And just being like, no one wants to hear my voice. So
No.
it's my I guess that gets me over that hump then. So
Well, clearly, because I had no idea just how far you had kind of come with what you're doing with the podcasting here.
Well, this is like I told you at the store before we came over. I told her, I said, this is like, I can do this because I can talk and I can, like Dave knows, I can talk and I can have a conversation with people. But then actually for the radio, I have to say something, and I can't screw it up. It has to be perfect.
You can. You
based
just
close to
re-record it
perfect.
over and over.
And that's what you don't have years to sit there for, right? So
Now I am going to tell you the secret
okay.
about radio.
Okay.
That's not that big of a secret,
Okay.
but things can be edited.
Okay. That's true too. That is very true.
Sometimes. I mean, there was a time in the beginning, everything was live and you had to be very, very careful about anything live. And generally, we're in a place where, yes, it's still live.
Yes.
But sometimes with a little bit of a grace period of maybe recording a hair in advance, or certainly in the case with a spot, we want it to be perfect.
Right.
So we want to make sure. If you need 14 times to say it, I don't mind. That is
More than that, I don't know. But how is that, actually, while you're saying that, so we were talking about that too. So how has it changed in radio over the however long you've been in business? We won't say how long it's been, but however long.
A couple of years.
Things, even technology-wise, have come so far, even for my business, that I don't like doing it, but you have to kind of do it. So has that changed for you too? And
it's changed dramatically, and I'm very lucky to work for the company that I do because they, from day one, have always been very concerned with making sure that we had the newest and the top of the line equipment to make sure that we were working with the best things that we could. But it was different back in the day for sure. Yeah. So when I first got into radio, we were pulling CDs. And as an intern, that would be a big part of my responsibility would be Harry would pull the CDs out of the cart and he would play them and then he'd throw them in a pile and Laurie, please put those away.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So physical CDs, we would have them numbered and they would correlate in our system with, after a couple of years, they would correlate with something in the computer.
Did you have like a run sheet that had the timing of each song and all of that? Explain that part of it to it.
Okay, so yes, we have some flexibility. So when somebody calls up and they want to hear a song, yes, I can swap something out. Okay. But generally speaking, a log is generated in advance, and what that entails is laying out a blueprint for what music is going to be played. You're going to hear, if people want to know why do you hear certain songs more frequently than others, those are your power rotation, and those are the ones that are most popular, so those are the ones that people want to hear the most, and so they will be ranked in terms of, you've got your power songs, you've got your A, B, C, D below that, and then you have your blue moon rotation. So certain songs, that kind of accounts for why certain very popular songs are heard more at certain times, and then they, kind of fade in as new things come up. But it also accounts for the commercial log. Right. Because when an advertiser wants to get their message out, we need to make sure that, they know when it will be. And when I say that, those times fluctuate, of course, because you want to hit different parts of the audience, but it is all scheduled very carefully. And so all of that is done computer-wise now. But I remember back in the very beginning, I would get that on a paper printout and I would follow along. And if there was something that needed to be changed, I would literally take a pen and circle it in the beginning. Yeah. And that's not how it goes anymore, of course.
So do you think it's easier or harder then from back being able to do it by hand, or now like in a computer you have to edit it out?
Well, I think that it definitely is helpful as far as a checks and balances system, because you don't have the same kind of possibility of human error, I suppose. But I do really kind of reminisce those days, because I loved being able to grab a CD off the shelf, and if I felt like hearing something different than what was on the log, I would change.
Oh, cool. Yes.
See, we were very structured at our station. There was none of that. They said no swapping anything out. And people would be calling in and asking for a certain song. And I was told not to play it because they'd keep listening, hoping to hear it. And you'd keep listeners that way. And I didn't like that. And so I would find a song that was within a few seconds of what they wanted, and I would swap it in myself.
Now,
and I never got caught.
I will say that because of the way some things are structured, we don't always have that same kind of flexibility. But one thing that we do have now that is different is a phone app. You can go to the Bug Country app and you can request a song, you can dedicate a song, and it sends it to us. That's amazing. So apps have made things very different. I mean, well, even the platform that we're on right now, my radio station, you can hear the airwaves signals, but you can also tune into the website, and there's a Listen Live button. You can download the free Bug Country app, and you can listen to the music that way. And so there's a lot of cool things that have evolved out of that. Yes. So it's not, I don't want to suggest that it's still the same, call us up exactly, but sometimes, we still keep that interaction with our audience. And honestly, the interaction with the audience, I truly feel is the most important part of what we do. And our DJs, our entire team, we go out and about to a lot of community events. We do a lot of things that are is sometimes tied to the radio station and sometimes just because they are important to the community. Right. One of the things that we're very proud of that we are right on the cusp of launching again is our Stuff the Bus campaign. Yes. And that's a toy drive that Rozier Communications, which encompasses all of our stations, it's Bug Country, Kiss FM, and Talk 100.7. Okay. All of our stations are part of this, and the Stuff the Bus is a massive local toy drive, and we have a number of partners who are working with us, who will be doing toy collections, who will be helping us with school challenges, with different things that you're going to see with WKTV. You're going to see some things. So there's a lot of cool things going on there. And so anybody who wants to check out StuffTheBusCNY.com, they can find out more about what we're doing. And we're just on the cusp of launching that. So you're going to start hearing a lot more about that next week.
I was going to say, you've heard, everybody has heard it because it crosses over into TV too, I think, and radio and everything. Most people know around here what Stuff the Bus is, which is pretty cool. And then you do, I'll shout out my friends. I hope they're still doing it. Is it in Dollarville? You have a location at one point too. So at Zips, they usually do on location, I want to say, right? Is that what you call it? So
a live remote is what you're talking about.
Yeah, they do remotes at Zips.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that's kind of cool that I think that you're able to do with the station as compared to just being at the station all the time. So you're out with people, and they usually do hot dogs, I think, when they do theirs and stuff too. So do you enjoy doing those?
I love doing that. Okay. And honestly, that is why I am still with my fingers in the DJing. Okay. Because my 9 to 5, my Monday through Friday, part of this is helping people with their advertising campaigns. Right. But because I started as a DJ, because I have that foundation, because I'm still recording ads, and because I am a willing body who loves to go out and about and do this, I continue to DJ because it makes very good sense and is a natural tie-in when my normal DJing shift is Saturdays. Right. If they take me out of the studio, more often than not, it's on a Saturday. Yes. I do a lot of on-location remotes. Weekends are very heavy for that, but we do them anytime somebody requests. Yeah. So, cool. So I keep doing this with the DJing because it makes sense as a conduit to my being out doing what I love with the community, which a lot of these things are, we all, as DJs with this company, we all do get out and about and enjoy interacting with people. Right. I think that face-to-face and that being part of your community is the most important thing that we have going for us. Yep. And so I just love that. That's what keeps me really kind of tied to wanting to be part of all this.
That's awesome. So explain that too, because I don't think people realize, because I didn't realize this until obviously with the advertising. How far do the stations reach? So it goes all the way out, obviously. Kiss FM, I think, is out in Utica region. Then Bug covers all the way out to like Amsterdam, I think I was in. I could
actually,
hear it.
both of those stations cover the entire Mohawk Valley, and we simulcast across 2 signals on each one. So with Bug Country, 99.7 covers pretty much your Oneida, Herkimer County into northern Otsego. And 101.1 overlaps in Herkimer County. So if you're driving from Utica to Amsterdam, you can listen to Bug Country the entire way. You will
I've
switch
done.
to 101.1 when you hit a certain point if you're listening to the broadcast signal. And then 101 covers Herkimer, Fulton, Montgomery, northern Schoharie, northern Otsego. So we have about a 7-county footprint that we cover into. And KISS FM similarly.
That's awesome.
So between the two, we've got the Mohawk Valley very well covered.
Yes, absolutely. So that's pretty cool, too, because I didn't realize that, I don't know what the one was in Little Falls. They didn't go that far, right? Or did they? Their reach.
Well, going back to some history here.
Here we go.
There's sort of a story, and it's the growth over the course of the time from when they launched, which was before me. But when they launched to now 30 years later, next year. So at the time, Bug Country in Little Falls, and I hope I have all my memory right on this, but I remember we had 101.1, and there were 2 AM signals as well that were simulcasting the same programming. So similar in a way that we're still simulcasting. I do not recall the complete order of when things happened with those AMs. One of them became WVTL, which was still part of the company. But there was a point in time that the WOW FM signals, the signals 97.9 and 105.5 will sound familiar because they are now KISS FM. So the story behind that was those signals were sold off to a different company. The sale of those signals allowed for Roger Communications to really strengthen and beef up Bug Country, and that's when we added on the second FM signal. So that's when we broadened from just the 101.1 on FM to having that simulcast with 99.7. Cool. So that really turned out to be a very good thing in terms of strengthening Bug Country, broadening its base and widening it to a point that we were able to truly cover the entire Mohawk Valley. And then some years later, that company ended up selling back those original frequencies as KISS FM. So we said, happily, we will have KISS FM back as part of the family.
Cool.
And so KISS FM celebrated their 30th anniversary this year.
That's amazing.
Wow. Nice.
So it's gone through some transitions, but it was, WOW FM when it was here in Little Falls went through some transition, but still those same signals of 97.9 and 105.5 are KISS FM. And then 101.1, which was always Bug Country plus 99.7. That's our Bug Country
How cool
family.
Is that? And it came all the way circle. I didn't realize it came full circle back to Little Falls, which is kind of cool too. So it's very, very neat. So So tell me now a little bit about yourself. So I didn't prep you on this, but what do you do for fun? What do you like to do for fun?
I like to play.
I know, right? Besides radio. Yes.
Well, besides radio, which I will say, our office, I just want to point out, our offices are in Utica. We're in Canal Park in Utica now. So we didn't quite come all the way full circle.
Not quite yet.
Well, we're the Talk of the Town guys. Are you in the same building?
Yes, we are. That's also part of our family, Talk 100.7.
Okay. Yep. All right.
My favorite guys.
They are something. I do listen to them quite a bit too. So, what else do you like to do? Let's say.
I love to play competitive laser tag and travel the entire country to do so.
Very cool. And that's like a fun fact thing that people would never know that, right? I mean, do we have a laser tag place in the valley? Both of you. Like looking at Dave.
Well, I know the answer.
Do you know?
Dave know?
I know.
I have no idea.
Is there a place?
There is one. There's one in New Hartford.
Okay.
And then there are the next closest locations are Syracuse and Albany.
Awesome.
But I don't let the geography constrain me at all. I love to travel. And a couple of years back, 5 years back, I think it was, I became the first person to ever laser tag in all 50 states.
Oh my gosh.
Completing my journey in Texas on International Laser Tag Day, playing against the guy who invented the game, George Carter III, on the anniversary of the day he
Holy crap.
launched.
That's
that is
amazing.
crazy.
And it's in Texas, and you're
in Texas. But
you
where
love
in
Texas.
Texas was the
Well,
competition?
It wasn't a competition so much as it was a celebration in this particular case, and we celebrated one the fact that I had this personal accomplishment, to the fact that it was 35 years at that time. This is back in 2019. And honoring him for creating this game. He created the original laser tag, which was called Photon.
Okay.
And he launched that in Dallas, Texas.
Really?
So 35 years later, Photon is no longer a game that people play, but there are all various versions of laser tag. So we found the next closest arena that was in North Richland Hills, and I said, this is just a little ways down the road. Will you come and join me? And he said, yes, of course.
That's amazing.
And who won? I know it's not a competition. You beat the founder.
How cool is that?
That's some kick-ass stuff.
That is really, really cool. So I don't know anything about laser tag, I guess. So how's it played? Is that it? Is it like a time limit, or how does it work then?
Well, there's a variety of different types of laser tag. So every place that you go might be a little bit different. In fact, that's really what got me traveling the country, is not so much the competition as just wanting to see how many arenas can I play. Let me see what's different about all of these, and you know, what do I like about this one? What do I like about that one? So, but the basic premise behind them is that you go in and you don't buy your own gear or anything. Okay. You pay for the game experience, and the arena will have all that you need, which is usually a pack that has flashing lights on it and a handheld unit we call a phaser.
Okay.
So if you know Star Wars, you can picture a phaser.
Yes.
Star Trek.
Star Trek. Okay. Phasers from Star Trek.
Okay.
But George Carter invented the game based off of that scene on the deck as they're shooting lasers at each other.
Okay. All right.
Amazing.
So Star Wars was the inspiration for laser tag.
How cool.
In the beginning. But yeah, Star Trek has phasers. You educate me on the
I'm an Elon Musk
part
fanboy, so I'm sorry.
I'm trying to keep up with all of that. I'm like, this is all new to me.
Watch Tiffany's head. You see her head going back and forth?
Like, I've never laser tag, so this is cool. So anyway.
A phaser is just the handheld unit that you're going to use and aim to target the lights.
Okay.
And that is your sole goal. This is in no way anything that is like violent.
It
is all about you're targeting lights, you're getting adrenaline. Cool. And so you're running around a maze that is structured.
Okay.
And you are looking for the other players whose lights are flashing. Okay. And you target them with your phaser, and you pull the trigger, and a beam of infrared is what actually connects with.
Careful to shoot your eye out.
I know, it's so cool though.
Infrared is basically like.
I'm going back to the movie.
I'm going to take you way back to remote controls.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what you're talking about, is just sending a signal from.
Wow.
Yep, from your phaser to connect with a sensor on the other player's vest, which will deactivate the lights.
Wow.
For a few seconds, and then you're right back in the game.
Amazing. Well, that's very cool. I would have never thought that was one of your hobbies or one of the things you enjoy to do. So
I would have lost money on that deal.
I know. How cool is that though? So back to what you actually do now. I do now. So what are some of the things coming up that you have besides Stuff the Bus? And you mentioned is it a 30th anniversary for Bug Country, because you already had the one
Next year,
105.5, you said,
yes,
right?
correct. So this was the official year for Kiss FM's 30th anniversary. So next year will be the 30th anniversary for Bug. Amazing. And we will have some cool surprises.
Very
cool.
Neat. We'll be on the
keep eyes and ears open.
Yeah,
so I want you to keep a date open, because we're going to want you to do a live remote here, October 11th, 2025.
October 11th.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You heard it here first. Now
Very
that you're here, I'll make sure to make you part of it. There's going to be a big festival here that's not been announced yet in Little Falls, but a remote down here in Canal Place would be great.
I'm going to put you on my calendar. We'll talk.
How cool
Seneca
is that?
Chief is coming through.
Wow.
Look that up, from the Buffalo Maritime Museum.
Okay.
They're making a stop here in Little Falls, October 11th. It's going to be a big festival around it. So Bug Country would be awesome here.
Well, I would love to.
And there's going to be a country music festival over here at the brewery.
I would love to know more about this.
Yep.
This is awesome.
I'll let you know. Yeah.
I don't know any of this stuff. I'm like, I know Laurie.
She doesn't. I'm just somehow
fun,
I'm on the committee that's making this happen. So I don't know how that's possible.
That is very, very cool. So back to that too now. So for advertising stuff. So if someone does want to reach out to you, I've told you before, like there are a lot of people who advertise and they come in and I see them periodically and stuff, but you're very, I don't know what the word is, not
crazy.
Not confrontational. No. Well,
laser tag. Who would have guessed? I mean, come on.
I know. But it's not like if someone wants to reach out to you to advertise, they can, right? And
Absolutely.
And, do you have contact info or anything like that too? I mean, they can call the station or they
are welcome
email.
to call the station, but email is perfectly fine.
Okay.
And I am not shy about my email.
Okay.
It is Laurie, Laurie,
okay.
at Roser Group, ROSERGROUP.com. So please feel free to send me a note if I can be helpful. I would love to reach back to you.
Yep. And he can pop that on the screen and stuff too for
there,
it.
yep.
And then, so what is the next bug? Is it Bugcast that you call it? I mix up the names. I know what the live remote. What is the next one that you're?
Oh, goodness, you're going to put me on the spot because I don't have my calendar memorized. What I can tell you is that the Stuff the Bus calendar is filled up. Amazing. We are about to really be launching. All of our weekends are going to be busy somewhere.
Okay. Yes, I'm
so
sure.
Nice.
You can go to bugcountry.com and you can see our complete calendar for sure.
How cool is that? And then I'll ask you one last question then. So somebody who wants to become what you are, what would your advice be to them? Intern? Obviously, Dave has a couple interns here with this sort of stuff, interns, and then that's, I think, the best way to do it. But what would you, you've gone through it, what would you say is your best word of advice to someone?
Have her shoot at you in a laser tag.
Yeah, that's when you make the cut, right? That's
have her chase you around, and eventually you'll be an intern.
Yes, yes.
I'm not going to lie. I've taken the interns to laser tag before.
Exactly. I knew it.
That's amazing.
If they do a good job.
Yes.
No, I genuinely, I would say seek out an internship, particularly for high school, college students who are looking for that next avenue. That's exactly what I did. My internship flexed around my college hours, so I was getting my education at the same time that I was learning hands-on at the station, and that gave me a really direct in. And that's a great thing because, one, you've gained some skills that not everybody is going to have. So the skills that they need are what they're already teaching you.
Right.
So an internship would be great from that vantage point. Plus, you're getting to know the people who are involved, the people who are in charge. And so I got hired part-time straight out of my internship as I was still doing my college. And, you travel around for life. My full-time position with sales didn't come till sometime later, but definitely the internship is the way to go, I feel, for just getting an education hands-on, which no matter where you end up, that's going to serve you well. So if there's an internship opportunity, no matter what your field, I say take advantage of learning those skills, and then you are a step ahead as far as having something marketable when it comes time for applying for an actual job.
Yes, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So do you see that there are a lot of people that are looking to go into DJing, or is it different now? Like, has there always been, I don't know, is there not a need or a want, or is it something popular, I guess? Or
I think that there is still definitely that allure of being on the radio. Yes. Everybody kind of likes the glamour side of it. Although there's lots of hard work that goes into it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But one of the other things that we're seeing evolve is all of our DJs have a pretty strong social media presence. Okay. So for people who like the idea of being influencers, that kind of goes hand in hand with radio right now. So a lot of our promotions, when you see, I'm just going to point to Listen It's Liz on Kiss. On Kiss. Listen It's Liz. No, I mean, and people know her from, from her online presence as much as her voice and being part of the community. And so, cool. I think that a lot of younger people particularly are kind of starting out in that direction. Mm-hmm. And those skills are also transferable because, people who have good video skills, that lends itself to go hand in hand with the audio skills. Really and people who know how to mix things on a board. Those are skills that are interchangeable with a lot of things that younger people are already doing. So I think we've got kind of a leg up, much more so than I did. I mean, you don't have to buy a silver dress to get a foot in the door anymore. You can say, hey, look, I can make a reel, and that might have some real marketability.
Yeah. It's crazy how this changed. I'm just thinking of it now because I'm like, that's how it has. Yeah.
All of this change. I mean, it changes literally every couple of weeks. It's crazy.
It's amazing. Mm-hmm. So that's very, very cool. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on today. Anything else that I'm trying to think out loud? Like I told you, I just kind of plug what I need to, and as I think of stuff, I bring it up. But any questions that you had, Dave, either or? I don't know.
Yes, Dave. When are we going to laser tag together?
I know.
You know what? My knees, girl.
We can go right to New Hartford now.
I'm afraid I get my ass whipped. I'm not going to do this.
At 50 states, you
at my age, you know when you're going to be beat.
Yes, that's true too.
That's called wisdom.
Yes, that's very true too. So, I said, I want to cover everything too, and I'm like, but at the same time, you just want to have a conversation. So, anything else that you want to plug too on your end, or I think we covered the Stuff the Bus and 30 years. Anything else you have, or
I just want to thank everybody who's been listening to us for that long, because we truly do have listeners. I'll just tell you a story.
Yes.
The other day, I was at a convenience store and I was getting my ice cream, and I was waiting in line, and a gentleman comes up behind me and he says, "Are you Laurie Jane?" And I said, "Yes." And he introduced himself. I didn't recognize him right away, but 15 years ago, he sold the business that I had been helping him with for years prior. And he was telling me about, he remembered the first time that he met me.
Oh, wow.
And he jogged my memory on that. And we were just reminiscing about his store and some of the things that we did. And I could not believe it had been 15 years since he had moved on from that, because that's how long it had been since I had seen him. But just, for somebody to come up to you after that amount of time and remember and still be listening and say, "Hey, I still hear you," was such a delight. And so I just want to thank everybody who's been listening to us for the span of the 30 years,
How cool.
From the beginning to now. It so much has changed, and it's just such a blessing to be in local radio and to be doing it. I shout out to Rozier Communications Network for providing us with this opportunity to still be doing local radio, and I love it. So I'm so glad to still be part of it.
Good guys.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. So I'm so happy I had you on too, and we learned about
thank
laser
you, Tiffany.
tag. Yes. All right. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation. We'll talk to you next time.